Russian troops advanced to the Ukrainian border. Against the backdrop of the aggravation of the situation in the Donbass, the attack of the Ukrainian military on Russian territory, and the attempt to break into Russia by the sabotage and reconnaissance group of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on armored vehicles, it became known that Russian troops stationed on the territory of Belarus were concentrated just 1 kilometer from the Ukrainian border. Data on this subject are provided by residents of the Belarusian city of Komarin, located on the border of Belarus and Ukraine. According to local residents who have posted a video of a Russian military convoy moving just 1 kilometer from the Ukrainian border, this is far from the first movement of Russian troops along the Ukrainian border. At the moment, it remains an unknown fact where exactly the observed military equipment is located. On the presented video frames, you can see that the military convoy includes armored personnel carriers, army trucks, various types of armored vehicles, and other military equipment. It is noteworthy that no joint Belarusian-Russian military exercises were planned in this area. Experts do not rule out that if Kyiv does not abandon its aggressive. The Russian military destroyed the sabotage group of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which tried to break through the border on infantry fighting vehicles. The Russian military opened fire and destroyed the sabotage and reconnaissance group of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which tried to break through the Russian border. During the ensuing battle, Ukrainian troops sent 2 infantry fighting vehicles as reinforcements, which opened fire on the Russian military. However, they were instantly destroyed by retaliatory strikes. As a result of the attack by the Russian military, 5 Ukrainian saboteurs were destroyed. At the same time, there is information that, in addition to the sabotage group, the crew of armored combat vehicles was also destroyed. As a result of the clash, 5 violators of the border of the Russian Federation from the sabotage and reconnaissance group were destroyed, reports the source of RIA Novosti. It is known that due to the breakthrough of 2 Ukrainian infantry fighting vehicles into Russian territory, the military immediately requested reinforcements, as a result of which the Ukrainian troops were destroyed in a timely manner. It is reported that the victims and casualties among the military personnel of the RF armed forces were avoided. So far, there is no official confirmation of this data, while the information is not commented on in Kyiv either. However, this morning Ukrainian military destroyed the positions of Russian border guards with fire by firing one of the artillery shells. Injured and casualties were avoided, but the situation is critical. The armed forces of Ukraine repeatedly intensified strikes against the DPR and LPR after the recommendations of the Security Council of the Russian Federation to recognize the republics of Donbass. After Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that the issue of recognizing the self-proclaimed republics of Donbass would be resolved before the end of the current day, the Ukrainian military stepped up their strikes on the territory of the DPR and LPR. It is known that in addition to mortars, heavy artillery is actively used. In this case, mainly areas along the line of contact are subjected to strikes. This indicates that the armed forces of Ukraine are ready to go on the offensive within the next few hours. According to local residents, in the evening, the forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine repeatedly intensified attacks on the DPR. In certain sections of the line of contact, the armed forces of Ukraine are already using tanks, which are hitting the positions of the DPR militia with direct fire, actually encountering no resistance from the militia due to the loss of control over certain sections of the defense line. Experts expect that closer to the night the intensity of the APU strikes can be further increased. It is not excluded from the active use of strike drones for tactical missile weapons and even combat aircraft. In addition, it is known that serious military clashes are currently observed in the south of the DPR. This indicates that Ukraine is ready to take all measures to gain control over the border with Russia in order to prevent the transfer of Russian troops to protect the Donbass. Meanwhile, Russian troops entered the Donbass to protect the DPR and LPR. After the recognition of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Russian troops almost immediately entered the Donbass. We are talking, judging by the data of local residents and the video frames that appeared on the web, about several thousand Russian military personnel and dozens of units of various military equipment, including armored ones. This significantly changes the situation in the region after numerous attacks by the armed forces of Ukraine. According to residents of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, numerous columns with military equipment and the movement of troops, as noted, of the armed forces of the Russian Federation are recorded in the territory of Donbass. In another video, you can see a huge convoy of buses in which, allegedly, the Russian military moved, although there is no confirmation of this information yet. It is noteworthy that, apparently, we are talking about those buses that took part in the evacuation of civilians. It is known that Russia has concluded an agreement with the DPR and LPR on the deployment of Russian troops on the territory of the Donbass republics to ensure security in the region. At the same time, it was decided to send Russian troops to the Donbass even before the ratification of the presidential decree recognizing the independence of the DNR and LNR.